Sit down with me a minute. There is tea in the pot if you want it. I want to tell you something I did not understand until I was old, and I am ashamed it took me this long, because it is so simple a child could have told me. For most of my life, I could not say one small word. 2 letters. No. I said yes to everyone, to everything, to every person who knocked on this door needing something, and I called it love. My name is Rose. I am 78 years old, and I spent 60 of those years setting myself down last, until I nearly could not find myself at all. I want you to picture my kitchen the way it used to be on a holiday. Every chair full, the good plates down from the high shelf. 20 people, sometimes 25, packed in here from noon until late, and me in the middle of it with my apron on. From the outside, it looked like a happy house, and in many ways it was. But I want to tell you the part nobody saw. I would start cooking 3 days before. 3 days, sometimes 4. I would be up at 5 in the morning with my feet already aching, peeling, basting, washing the same pots over and over because we only had the one big roasting pan. My sister would arrive and sit down and ask in that light voice, "What can I do?" And I would say, "Oh, nothing. Sit, relax. You came all this way." And then I would do it all myself, every year. I would serve everybody, watch them eat, refill every glass, and somewhere around the time the pie came out, I would notice I had not actually sat down once. Not once. I would eat standing at the counter, picking at the cold edges of what was left after everyone else had their fill. And do you know what I felt standing there? Not anger. That is the strange part. I felt proud. I had trained myself so well that running myself into the ground felt like being a good woman. The more tired I was, the better I thought I was doing. My mother was the same way, and her mother before her, so I thought that ache in my back was just what love cost. It went far past holidays. Let me give you the small ones, because the small ones are where a life really gets spent. A neighbor would call and ask me to watch her children, and I had plans, real plans, and I would cancel them and say, "Of course, bring them over." Somebody at the church needed 100 rolls baked by Saturday. 100! It might as well have been 1,000, and my hands were already raw, and I said yes. My brother needed money he was never going to pay back, and we did not have it to spare. And I gave it anyway, and lied to my husband about where it went. A friend would talk on the telephone for an hour about her troubles, and I would stand there with supper burning and the receiver pressed to my ear, nodding, because hanging up first felt like a small cruelty. I had a whole life made of other people's small needs, stacked one on top of another, and somewhere underneath all of it was a woman I kept meaning to get to later. I will tell you the one that still catches in my throat. My own birthday, the year I turned 50. My daughter wanted to take me out, just the two of us, somewhere nice, and I had been looking forward to it for weeks in a quiet way I did not let myself say out loud. And then the morning came, and my son-in-law called. His car had broken down,
And could I drive across town and mind the baby while he sorted it out?
And I looked at my good dress already laid out on the bed, and I called my daughter and told her we would do it another time. We never did do it another time. Never did. There was always another car, another baby, another somebody, always another somebody. I spent my 50th birthday on a stranger's couch with a teething child, telling myself I was needed, when the truth is, I just could not bear for anyone to be the least bit put out on my account. Not even on the one day a year that was supposed to be mine. I told myself all of it was generosity, but I will tell you what it felt like in the body, late at night, when somebody had asked for one more thing. It felt like fear, a cold little voice that said, "If you say no this once, they will see you are selfish, and they will go." So I said yes, and yes, and yes, and I paid for it with my own hours. And the bill came due quietly, the way the worst bills do. The cost was this: I did not know what I liked. I am not exaggerating to make a point. When I turned 60, my husband, God rest him, asked me a simple question one evening. He said, "Rose, if today were yours, all yours, nobody to feed, nobody to drive anywhere, what would you do with it?" And I sat there. I sat there a long time, and I could not answer him. I had spent so many years asking everyone else what they wanted that I had forgotten how to ask it of myself. I had no answer. That frightened me more than anything had in years. A whole woman, and the lights were on inside, but nobody had been home in a very long time. Now I want to tell you when it turned, because it did turn, and I do not want you leaving here thinking this is a sad story. It is not. It is the opposite. It was a Tuesday, an ordinary Tuesday, about a year after my husband passed. A year, maybe a little more. The phone rang. It was a woman from a committee I had been on for ages, asking me to bake for an event the way she had 100 times before. And I opened my mouth to say yes, because yes lived in my mouth, ready to jump out. It always had. And instead, for the first time I can truly remember, I heard myself say, "I am sorry, I cannot this time." That was all. I cannot this time. I did not give a reason. I had no dying relative, no excuse, nothing. I just could not, and so I said so. And then I waited for the sky to fall. It did not fall. She said, "Oh, all right, no trouble." And we talked another minute about nothing and hung up. And I stood in my kitchen holding the phone, and I started to laugh, and then I started to cry, both at once, like a fool. Because nothing happened. The world did not end. She did not stop loving me. I had spent 60 years paying a ransom to a kidnapper who was never even there. After that, I started small, the way you go back into cold water. I said no to a thing here, a thing there. The first few were like lifting a stove. I would shake afterward. My hands would actually tremble holding the phone, and I would have to sit down. But each one got easier, the way anything does with practice. I remember the first time I told my brother no about money.
I had practiced the words at the kitchen sink for 2 days, 2 or 3, saying them out loud to the window, like a foolish old woman rehearsing a play. And when the moment came, I said them plain. I cannot lend you that, not this time. He was quiet, and then he was a little cold for a few weeks. And the old me would have cracked and sent the money just to make that coldness go away. But I held, and I would love to sit here and tell you he came around and we are close as anything now. The truth is messier than that.
He got the money somewhere else, I never asked where, and we are civil, and we send cards, and there is a thinness between us at Christmas that was not there before. I do not know to this day whether I did the right thing or just a hard thing. Some weeks I am sure I saved myself. Other weeks I look at his card on the mantel and I am not sure at all. Both of those can be true in the same week. That is the part nobody tells you. And the most surprising thing happened. The thing I wish I could go back and tell that young woman with the aching back at 5 a.m. The people who truly loved me did not love me 1 ounce less. Not one. My real friends were relieved, if anything. It turned out my exhaustion had been making them feel guilty all along, and they had just never known how to say so. My sister told me, much later, that she had stopped offering to help in the kitchen because every year I waved her off, and she had felt useless and unwanted at my table for 30 years. 30 years. All that time, I thought I was being a gracious host, and I was really just keeping the one thing I knew how to do, because being needed was the only way I knew how to be loved. And the ones who did fall away when I stopped saying yes, I will be honest with you, a few did. There were 1 or 2 people who only ever came around when they needed something carried or cooked or paid for, and when the yes dried up, so did they. And it stung. I will not pretend it did not. But standing in the space where they used to be, I came to see that was never love walking out. You cannot lose something you never truly had. So I am 78 now, and here is what saying no finally bought me, after a lifetime of it costing me everything. I have mornings that belong to me. I sit in my garden with my coffee and I watch the birds at the feeder, and I do not feel one speck of guilt that I am not being useful to somebody. I learned at 72 years old, 72 or 73, that I love to paint. Badly. Oh, gloriously badly. My hands shake, and the trees come out crooked. And last month I painted what was supposed to be the church on the corner, and a child at the bus stop asked me very seriously if it was a shipwreck. A shipwreck. And instead of being mortified the way I would have been my whole life, I laughed right out loud on the sidewalk. Because do you know what? The child was right. It did look like a shipwreck, and it was the best $2 of paint I ever spent. I hung it on the kitchen wall anyway, crooked, where the good plates used to be, and every morning it makes me grin like I am getting away with something. Nobody is grading me. It is mine. My table is smaller now, fewer chairs, but every single person at it actually wants to be there, and so do I. And I sit down with them now. I sit down. I eat the meal warm with everybody else. I am not telling you to turn hard. Please do not hear that. I gave my whole life to caring for people, and I would not give back a minute of the caring that was real. What I am telling you is that there is a kind of yes that is love, and there is a kind of yes that you say with your whole chest aching because you are scared of what comes after a no. For 60 years I could not tell those two apart. A no, said gently and meant honestly, is not a door slammed in someone's face. Sometimes it is the only way left to keep one chair at the table for yourself. If anything I said landed somewhere soft in you, do an old woman a kindness and send this along to someone you love who is wearing herself down to nothing, trying to keep everyone else happy. She may need to hear it from a stranger before she can hear it from herself. And then tell me, down in the comments, just one honest thing. What is the yes you keep saying when every part of you is tired and aching to say no? You do not have to tell the whole world. Just notice it the next time the word jumps to your mouth. That little pause before you answer is where your whole life is waiting for you. So the next time that yes comes leaping to your mouth, hold it just a breath and listen for the no underneath. I will keep the kettle on. Come back to my table soon and let somebody pour for you for once.